Welcome to Nice and Blunt, back for another Monday live stream. It's June 17th, 2024 at 4:20 p.m. and we're going to have a heartbreaking fantasy draft this afternoon. Will I be breaking the opponent's hearts or my own? Let's find out. Okay, here we are on Underdog, where we will begin our draft in just a few moments. But I forgot to bring this up last week. Darren Waller did retire, and he's on the thumbnail of this video, and he was in the news last week because of that music video, and he is the theme of our live stream today. But before we jump in, I figured I'd talk about the New York Giants tight end situation because we do have some new faces that maybe you're going to consider drafting. Let's talk about the rookie Theo Johnson out of Penn State. He's 6'6", 250, drafted in the 4th round, pick 107 overall. And he did have some decent seasons coming out of Penn State in the Big Ten. Last year as a junior, he caught 34 catches, 341 yards, 7 touchdowns. And as a third-year sophomore, he did put up similar numbers, 20 catches for 328 and 4 touchdowns. So not terrible, not too bad. And this is his profiler page. Pretty fast. 4.57 for a tight end is definitely on the higher end. And given his size, he is in the 98th percentile adjusted speed score. His best comp would be Luke Musgrave, who had a decent rookie season last year. And according to this, he was the number 1 athlete in his class. So there are some reasons to be optimistic, but he will be needing to compete with Daniel Bellinger, who is almost the exact same type of player. 6'5", 250, so just a little bit shorter, but almost the same age, just a few months older, coming in at 23.7 years old. Drafted with the exact same pick, round 4, pick 7. He comes out of San Diego State, and he's a little bit slower, runs a 4.63 40, and that's kind of the only knock on him compared to Theo Johnson. But he is entering his 3rd year in the NFL, and we'll take a look at his stats. This is his rookie season where he put up 3 total touchdowns in his first 5 games, 2 receiving, 1 rushing, and does have an 86% catch percentage as a rookie. But after he got hurt, he was kind of an afterthought. Hasn't put up a game with more than 42 receiving yards. 3 catches is pretty much the max you're going to expect on a weekly basis. That was his rookie season, and in 2023, he did fill in for Waller towards the end of the year, and again, max numbers were 43 receiving yards on 3. I guess he did have a 4-catch game later in the season, but no touchdowns as a sophomore, and it's really not encouraging to invest, I think, in this tight end core. So, yeah, Darren Waller's gone, but personally, I'm not really interested in either Giants tight end, and drafting them kind of feels like a wasted pick. If I had to pick one, I think I would go Theo Johnson, just because he's a rookie and there's kind of like the unknown factor, like, ooh, maybe he could be better. But historically, Theo did score more touchdowns in college than Bellinger did, and I think that red zone role is the tiebreaker when it comes to the tight end position. But that's it for this conversation. We're not going to talk Giants tight ends anymore. We're going to get into this afternoon's draft, where we will be hopping in to a Chihuahua number 2. We've drafted a few of these. The last few live streams have been in this tournament, and this is probably going to be my last draft. It's almost full. It's 91% full in regards to this tournament. So why not hop in one more time? If we do take home first place, we do take home $50K. However, if we do not enter the championship round, if we don't finish top 217 in this tournament, we do not win any money. But if we do, we take home at least $200. So that's a factor to keep in mind if you want to join this draft or not, enter this tournament while you still can. You need to advance to the championship round, week 17, in order to make any return on investment. But let's get in. Let's start this thing. And there are 7 spots remaining in this draft lobby. So these will fill up relatively quickly, given this tournament's about to close, and we will be starting very shortly. But hopefully I get a good pick I would love a top 3 selection, but it's not the end of the world if that doesn't happen. This draft is full. We will get going very soon. And if you are watching, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and don't miss out on any of these live streams. Go ahead and ring that bell down below so you can hop in with us next time we draft. But we are sitting at pick 7. I believe that's going to set us up for a rookie, not a rookie, excuse me, a running back with our first pick, most likely. And I'm taking a look at my exposure in this tournament. I've mentioned before, when it's an individual tournament, let me make sure it's in screen. I like to write down the teams that I've drafted. So I will make sure that we don't overexpose ourselves to some players. I already have Breece Hall in this tournament. Otherwise, my highest drafted running back would be Jahmyr Gibbs. So I'm probably going to be targeting Breece Hall, most likely. But Boofy, nice to see you again, my friend. That Chad Drews guy is a massive troll. He's at pick 2. Okay, well, if he wants to go off the rails and take some random-ass players, as long as this draft doesn't get thrown out, I don't care. That's probably just going to push down names that are more highly drafted, and I'm comfortable with that situation. But I will be on guard. I will take your advice. We'll see what he does here at pick 2, if he is going to start with an automatic troll, or if he's going to give himself a shot. But I don't see the point in trolling. I mean, yeah, maybe you might want to snipe an opponent that you think is like too heavily weighted to win in your like little pod here in your 12-team grouping, but you're putting down real money. I don't see the point of taking like bad picks. You know what I mean? It seems like it's an unwise decision to be making. If we do get a wide receiver that falls to us, we will take, looks like it would be Justin Jefferson, but I don't expect that. Ooh, that does happen. We are not going to go Breece Hall. We're going to take Justin Jefferson, normally going off the board at pick 5, available to us at pick 7. Nice. I'm happy with that. I prefer to start off wide receiver on Underdog because you have to start 3, and you can really fall behind the 8 ball if you ignore that position early on in the draft. I think starting running back is a very difficult strategy for it to pay off on Underdog, just because this year wide receiver is just such a premium. You have to draft them so high in order to get good ones. And if we can get a top 5 player, we are definitely in better shape than if we wait until like round 3, for instance, to draft our wide receiver 1. It would be like wide receiver 25, sometimes even more than that, like wide receiver 27 possibly, if we wait until pick 31 to draft our wide receiver 1. So let's see what happens. But maybe 27 is a little bit high. There's at least like 6 running backs that go off by pick 31 most of the time. So yeah, wide receiver 25 would usually be like worst case scenario, but that's very different than wide receiver 5. So here we are. There is some weird Brandon Ayuk news, but he is my preferred player in this range. I do think he's very talented, and I'm going to take him. We're going to go with Brandon Ayuk in round 2. We could have gone Jonathan Taylor, but I think I'm going to pass. Are there any picks that are off the wall? Wow. Pick 9 goes Devontae Smith. Pick 16. Very interesting. Round 2, Devontae Smith. That's the highest I've ever seen Devontae Smith being drafted. Wow. Long gone are the days where you could get Devontae Smith in the 4th round. There were a lot of teams that could start A.J. Brown, pivot to another position, and grab Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. If you were drafting on Underdog like a month and a half ago, that was like a very common way to start your team. But I would say about a month ago, Devontae Smith hit the 3rd round consistently, And about 3 weeks ago, he started quickly shifting to early third round in the ADP. And so if you do want to target that Eagles stack, you have to now take him in round 2, which I think is an egregiously high price tag. I don't think DeVonta Smith is going to pay off as, let's see, this would be wide receiver 10, I believe. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wide receiver 11 for DeVonta Smith. Feels high. He does have some big spike weeks, like 99, 100 yards receiving and a touchdown for Devontae is not out of the question, but it doesn't happen more than like 10 times per season. So, yeah, I definitely prefer Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, even Nico Collins. I think once you hit Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, that's where maybe you can convince yourself DeVonta Smith is worth it. But we have been complaining about these round 2 wide receivers as most likely not worth the price tag. If you just want to get your guy, want a unique build, given the DeVonta Smith ADP, it's probably pretty unlikely that you have the A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith stack. But there's probably going to be some other teams in this tournament that do have it, and they got DeVonta Smith at pick, in the third round. Maybe they go A.J. Brown, like pick 8, and grab Devontae at 32. Not going to happen a lot, but it is possible. So that's fine. But you mentioned Chad Drews as a troll. So far, he's pretty typical. He goes Devon A-Chain round 2, followed by DK Metcalf. Not a crazy start. But we have Jefferson, Ayuk. I do not want to take another Malik Neighbors team. We've spoken earlier about how I think Diggs may not be as valuable as Tank Dell. And I have not drafted Michael Pittman in a minute. Definitely not in this tournament yet. So I'm going to go Michael Pittman. And we definitely have a wide receiver 1, but I kind of regret not grabbing Michael Pittman in, would it be Friday's live stream when we took Tank Dell, just because we got Anthony Richardson at pick 64, and I would have loved to have that stack. But now we set ourselves up for an Anthony Richardson stack in round 5. And maybe that's the route we're going to go. But I feel very safe, very comfortable with a 3 wide receiver start out the gate. Round 4 is where I definitely start to pivot, unless we get some really good values at the position. I was doing a little research earlier today on George Pickens and whether or not I think he's like going to have a truly breakout season. And I'm starting to be concerned that while he might have a few more targets this year, the Arthur Smith trends indicate he probably won't go over 120 targets, and the touchdowns may be scarce with Russell Wilson. It's hard to bet on. But, oh boy, Tank Dell does fall to pick 42. And that's hard to pass on. We could go Josh Allen. We could go Lamar Jackson. But I will go Tank Dell. Kind of rare these days to see Tank fall past pick 40. So with an ADP of 35, we set ourselves up for a unique build. Jefferson, Ayuk, Michael Pittman, and Tank Dell. So this is going to look like a 7 wide receiver type of team. I think when we go so heavily fixed on that position early on, we should move off of it once we have at least like 5 or 6. I think 7 is probably the max when you start off with 4 in the first 4 rounds. But we definitely have a really good wide receiver core, and that's never a bad thing. Let's just hope for some good values at running back later on. If we somehow get Isaiah Pacheco, pick 55, I would be over the moon. Do I expect that? No. But would be very ecstatic if that occurs. However, this is the latest I've ever seen Josh Allen go. I think 44 is probably the cutoff point. I've taken him a few times at like 42, once at like 43, but I've never seen him fall past 44. Mahomes goes 37. Team with Travis Kelce wants their stack. Rainbow strategy, not my favorite. But if you are going to do it, I think being at the turn is probably the way to go. But boy, their wide receiver 2 is going to really take a hit given that strategy. Kind of hard to come back from, even with the Mahomes Kelce stack. But we would need a lot of help if Pacheco is there at 55. By far and away my preferred pick, but Team 4 does not have a running back, neither does Team 5. If Pacheco's there, I would be ecstatic. I just don't expect it. I would be happy with Kincaid. He goes, though. I can consider James Cook, but I'm probably not going to do it. I think it's probably more valuable to have an elite QB. And here we are with Michael Pittman. I'm probably looking at Anthony Richardson. Yeah, Pacheco goes off to a team I expected, but Cook not available either. Excuse me. Jaden Reed off the board. We could go Hollywood. We could go Anthony Richardson. Let me know in the chat. We have 24 seconds. Do you want Hollywood or Richardson? I'm leaning towards Richardson because moving off of wide receiver is definitely something I can afford to do. And having an elite quarterback, probably the way to go. But I'm leaning towards Richardson. I know there's a delay. I don't see any comments yet. I'm just going to take Richardson. We'll go Richardson. But I expect running back to be our next move in round 6. Unless we get like a really good deal on maybe George Kittle. That would open us up for a Purdy stack. But with Richardson, we'd definitely be done at the position with that. And I have ignored running back a lot in this tournament, so I may... If Rachaad White is there, absolutely going Rachaad White. Sometimes he does fall. I'd be comfortable with Mixon. I'd be comfortable with Kenneth Walker. But if we get sniped by pick 66 on all 3 of those running backs, White is already off the board, then I'll probably go with tight end. I would rather have Kittle than Pitts, given I have Ayuk. But Pitts goes, so we can't even take him. To the team that has London and Kelce. Wow. Team 12 is in the hole already. I'm not a fan of Team 12's roster. They do have the triple stack with Mahomes, but grabbing that second tight end really, really bothers me. Don't think that's a good plan. Okay, now we're looking at Walker and Kittle. And I think it's more valuable for our team to have Kenneth Walker. I prefer Kenneth Walker here. So that's our start so far. We have Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman Jr., Tank Dell, Anthony Richardson stacked up with Pittman, and Kenneth Walker as our RB1. I feel good about it. Definitely going to compete. But coming back around, if Kittle is somehow there, I'll absolutely take him. We can also go for Evan Ingram. I don't expect to go running back. I've taken a lot of Kamara, and with Walker, I don't feel boxed into that position. I also doubt I will be going David Montgomery. Maybe we'll be looking at one of these wide receivers, but with 4 that I really trust already, I doubt it. Okay, you mentioned Team 2 is a team to look out for, and they have taken 3 running backs so far in the first 5 rounds. Do they go with a 4th? They have CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Devon Achane, Travis Etienne, and Josh Jacobs. Team 3 also goes double tight end, so there will be a premium on that position. It will dry up a little fast. So that's gonna lean me further towards Evan Ingram with our next pick, if he is available. Team 2 going Christian Watson at pick 71. That's an early click on Christian Watson. Watson kind of scares me. I think if you could get him in round 8 where he was previously going several weeks ago, I liked it. Now in round 7, it's kind of just like a tier break at the position. You kind of have to take him if you want him. But round 6, I think I'd much rather have JSN. I think I'd much rather have Deontay Johnson, Ladd McConkey, DeAndre Hopkins. Definitely I prefer, because Christian Watson doesn't stay healthy. There's a lot of targets to feed in that offense. Now Jameson Williams goes 75. This is weird. Way overpriced on Jameson Williams. Team 3, also not a team I'm jealous of. Hopkins pick 76. Very good pick. If McConkey falls to us at 79, he does not. So it's between Evan Ingram, Deontay Johnson. And if tight end was not already doubled up on 2 teams, I don't think I would be taking Evan Ingram. I think I would be taking Deontay Johnson. But we already have 4 that I really trust. I think it's more valuable in this 12-team league to have a safe, good tight end, and I don't expect Jake Ferguson to make it back around to us. So we go Evan Ingram in round 7. But somebody's going to get really good value on Deontay Johnson in this draft. And if it's team 12, then I might like their team a little bit more, but I don't expect that to be the case. Team 10 takes Ferguson. Team 11 goes Najee. Wow. Deontay Johnson saving team 12. Assuming he takes him. With 2 picks, I'd be shocked if they don't take Deontay Johnson. Yeah, there he goes. Okay. Team 12, not terrible, but I still don't like the double tight end strategy. Usually in these tournaments, you don't really care too much about what your opponents are doing, but especially at these one-off positions where you can only start 1 per week, if somebody doubles up really early and then another team does it as well, it's worth paying attention to and remembering that factor, because they're going to dry up a lot faster, and now you have an advantage against these opponents in this draft. So here we are, and I actually prefer Zach Moss straight up over Zamir White, just barely. Just barely. I'd rather invest in the better team, the better offense, and I do believe that Zach Moss is going to be the goal line running back. I know Chase Brown is there. You can have some concerns about Chase Brown, but I think Zach Moss is in line for double-digit touchdowns, and I don't feel confident saying that about Zamir White in the Raiders offense. If the Raiders had a better quarterback, I'd probably stick with him. but I do prefer Zach Moss straight up over Zamir White now that I've done a little bit more stat work looking into Zamir. Howard wants to know, how is my cat? She is good. She is in the same position she's been in the last several times you've asked. You see? You can kind of see her. She's taking a nap, but she's right behind me. She's doing well. But we go Zach Moss over Zamir. The touchdowns were not really a factor for Zamir, even when he did have the job to himself. And I know I'm not like the biggest fan of Alexander Mattison. I don't worry about him too much, but he is a factor. So is Dylan Laub. And while the volume can definitely be higher for Zamir, I just don't really trust the touchdown production in that Raiders offense. I really trust it in the Bengals offense. In the Bengals offense, I was looking this up. Joe Mixon has scored 37 touchdowns over the last 3 seasons despite missing 4 games. He had 16 3 years ago, 9 2 years ago in 14 games, and then 12 last year. I think double-digit touchdowns are in line for Zach Moss. But Jonathan, good to see you, man. What up? How you doing? We're playing. We're having some fun. We got a good team so far. We got Justin Jefferson at pick 7. Then we got Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Tank Dell, our top 4 wide receivers out the gate. Then we go Richardson round 5. Pair him up with Pittman. We grab Kenneth Walker and Zach Moss round 6 and 8. And then Evan Ingram is our tight end. And we have one of the better tight end rooms, given 2 teams I think kind of eliminated themselves a little bit, doubling up on tight end so early. And we don't have to worry about that position too much. So I'm doing good in this draft. I feel confident, and I'm also having a very good day, very good afternoon. How you guys doing? How y'all feeling? I think I'm going to go James Conner. He falls almost 10 picks. And while I do like Benson's upside, I still think Conner has one more season of good production. And with a limited array of pass catchers, I do still think Conner's going to be heavily targeted in this backfield. He had some really good usage out of the backfield in the passing game last season when Kyler Murray was the quarterback. So I'm going to go James Conner. And we ignored running back a little bit much early on in this draft. So having him as my RB3 makes me feel more confident. Getting good value on him, also pretty valuable. So Conner is our round 9 pick. Usually goes off the board 93. We got him at 103. Trevor Lawrence, pick 102. That is a bit high. But the team does have Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas. Interesting, while they didn't go Evan Ingram, I know McConkey was really falling, but you'd expect they would want that stack. But maybe that's why they go Lawrence. They're worried that we take Lawrence. But I appreciate it. I think that team needed... Oh, no, they got 2 at the gate with Bijan, Jonathan Taylor. Maybe they don't need running back, but they have an interesting team. Cooper Kupp, Christian Kirk, Jaden Reed, Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Cortland Sutton. Not terrible, but QB1 Trevor Lawrence, you can get him later. Not ideal. You can literally get him like 2 rounds later. I would have waited. We could go Purdy, call this position done. We did not get George Kittle, but I don't really care about that. Purdy put up great numbers last year. Purdy with 4,280 yards, 31 passing touchdowns, another 2 rushing touchdowns. He's very valuable, but Wide receiver is kind of interesting. I don't think Khalil Shakir is better than Purdy. Caleb Williams is falling a little bit, but we don't have any Bears on this team. I think Purdy is probably the best pick here in terms of value, and it does really give us a lot of peace of mind at the position where I don't need to worry about quarterback any at all the rest of the way. We got Richardson, Purdy. Purdy's a great backup. And Richardson, as long as he stays healthy, has a chance to finish as the QB1 this season. So we're all set at quarterback. We got a tight end where we don't need to worry about it for a long time. We got 4 really good receivers. We're going to take another 3 of them. And there was a big run on the running back position. So I didn't feel like there was good value in round 10 there. But Jonathan, another day in paradise. What's happening with Ayuk contract situation? I think he's just trying to negotiate. Like I saw that like TikTok he posted where he's claiming they don't want me. Some receivers kind of have inflated egos sometimes, being a bit of a diva. He deserves a pay increase. I definitely believe he should get a bigger contract. I think given the market, he's probably worth like 27, 28. He probably thinks he's worth like 33. They'll probably settle at 30, 31. But I think he's a better investment than Deebo Samuel long term. And I think given the Super Bowl aspirations of the Niners, CMC, how many more years does he have left? How much longer does Kittle have left? Kittle gets banged up. Deebo plays a very physical brand of football. They did draft Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cohen in this year's draft, but I don't think either of them are really going to be able to replace Ayuk's production in their rookie seasons. I think at the end of the day, Ayuk gets paid, and I believe he spends the entire season under contract with the 49ers. It might still be on this original deal. It might be on an extension, but I don't see a scenario where Ayuk is not a 49er. If they move off of one of them, I think they're moving off of Deebo. That's what I would be doing personally. I'm not a NFL GM, so maybe I'm wrong, but I think from a age standpoint, from a style of play standpoint, from a health standpoint, Ayuk is the better investment. Ayuk is the better route runner. And while Deebo's important to their offense, they did lose some games when Deebo went out with injury last year. I think you can figure it out without him. I'd rather have Ayuk long-term than I would Deebo Samuel. So I don't really worry about it. He's probably going to, hold out, not come to practice in training camp, but I don't really care. I think he'll still play a full season with San Francisco, and I think he'll be there long-term. So I'm comfortable drafting him where he's going, and with the potential that they do trade Deebo, I think if they traded Deebo, Ayuk would vault to. I'd rather have him than Drake London. I think he'd be on par with Garrett Wilson personally. I think him and Garrett Wilson are probably going to be the last 2 picks of the first round. I think Ayuk would be a top 10 wide receiver for sure if they got rid of Deebo Samuel. So I'm happy to take a bet on him. And we have him stacked up in this draft with Brock Purdy. But we're going to be looking at maybe A.D. Mitchell, another Colt wide receiver. And I see him consistently fall to round 11. So that's why I didn't really consider him with the previous round. But it does open up our stack. We already have Pittman. Downs is available a little bit later. But I do think Mitchell gives you more touchdown potential and more of a ceiling in this format. He's falling 11 picks. I think you can make an argument that you'd rather have Jacoby Myers straight up. I also think Charbonnet is someone we should really consider. We have Kenneth Walker, so we'd be monopolizing the Seattle backfield. But I think the scenario where our team works out is where Walker is just the league winner. He never gets hurt maybe Charbonnet gets hurt and he gets more receiving potential. And I already have a lot of Charbonnet already. So I'm gonna take AD Mitchell, and we're gonna double up on Colts receivers. I don't think I want to triple up. I don't think I want to take Josh Downs. But if we get sniped on Charbonnet and he's the best receiver still available, I might do it. Can't imagine Jacoby falls back around to us. So guys will be targeting Charbonnet by far, but the value on Jacoby would be very hard to pass up. But yeah, I think that's our order. We're going to go Charbonnet and then one of these receivers if Charbonnet is not available. But Team 12 is the only one that needs running back. Everybody else has like 4 already at this point. So if Charbonnet does not go at the turn, then I would expect to get him. But that's probably where he goes, to a team that only has 2 running backs in Jameer and Ramondre. It's what I would expect. Oh, he goes at pick 131. Team 11 with their 5th running back. So we'll be in line for maybe Gabe Davis. We already have Evan Ingram, so another Jag. Not bad. I also think this is the format you want to be drafting Gabe Davis if you're doing it at all. I think 12th round is fine. Granted, Ricky Pearsall is definitely also a consideration for us. Another rookie that stacks up for us. We have Ayuk and Purdy. Gabe Davis goes Josh Downs or Pearsall. Running back is also thinning up quickly. I think I'm going to go Pearsall. I know that Purdy is going to be throwing it more than Richardson will be. Richardson definitely throws it a lot. We already have 2 Colts receivers stacked up. We're going to go with our second Niner wide receiver. But I may regret that pick. Moving off of running back could put us in a tough spot. But we have 3 that are pretty good. And you only have to start 2 per week. I don't hate it. But that's not a position we can forget about. We're only going to take 2 tight ends with this team. I feel confident with Evan Ingram as one of our safer plays. We're definitely done at quarterback. We're almost done at wide receiver. We took 4 really early, and I think 7 is probably going to be enough for this team. Maybe we go 8 if we get good value, but I think most of our picks the rest of the way are going to be at running back. I think we're taking at least 3 more running backs. We're entering around 13, so 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We have 6 more picks left. 3 running backs, 1 tight end, 1 receiver. We probably take 2 more receivers. But I like to have my positions planned out as we get into these later rounds. Like the last third of the draft, rounds 13 through 18, it's important from a build standpoint, from a roster construction approach, to know how many of each position you're going to need to be drafting. So with 3 running backs as the priority, that's definitely what we're going to try and focus on. And maybe this is a team where I take Isaiah Spiller in round 18. Someone we mentioned 2 days ago as a potential, unlikely, but potential Kyren Williams candidate this season. But I do think Jalen Wright has potential league-winning upside. If you told me Devon Achane went down, I wouldn't be shocked. If you told me Raheem Mostert at age 32 got hurt, I wouldn't be shocked either. And Jalen Wright is actually the heaviest in this backfield. Jalen Wright weighs 210, coming in at 5'11". He's also fast as hell, 4.38 speed. Mostert is like barely 200 pounds. He's 205. And then we all know that Achane is like 188. Supposedly Achane has bulked up, but Jalen Wright as the strongest, heaviest, of course he goes off the board. We can't take him. Is very appealing from a touchdown roll perspective. But shit, okay. I might just go with Jermaine Burton and kind of say fuck it for running back. That's what I'm going to do. This might be our last receiver. Another rookie, but absolutely a lot of potential in Cincinnati, especially with T. Higgins' contract. T. Higgins is starting to scare me. The more I think about it, putting in context last year's terrible numbers, we took Tank Dell one spot after T. Higgins. I'd much rather have Tank Dell. I think I'd rather have Amari Cooper and George Pickens over T. Higgins. And from a floor standpoint, I think Christian Kirk is a safer pick. I definitely see a higher ceiling there for Higgins, but last year he was a round 2 pick with a massive ceiling, and he did not pay off at all. He was barely a top 40 wide receiver. So Higgins, given the fact he's probably going to hold out all offseason long, may not be in like perfect game shape to start the year, and I worry about him. I think him and Terry are probably closer together than him and Tank Dell. But Jermaine Burton has some character concerns. He fell to the 3rd round, but some people considered him a possible 1st-round talent, if not 2nd-rounder. And while he may be an asshole, I can't confirm that. That's just rumored reporting. He's definitely talented. Jermaine Burton is definitely talented. So, who knows? Maybe he's more valuable from a fantasy perspective than T. Higgins this season. 6 foot 196, runs a 4.45, drafted round 3. And at Alabama last year, oh shit, we're on the clock. Fuck. God damn it. Running back flew away from us. Shit. That's not good. Okay, I'm just going to draft one more rookie wide receiver. We're taking these gambles with the 4 that we have at the top. We're not counting on them for like weekly production. And now we're done at the position. We've taken all of our wide receivers. We started off with 4 straight. Then we moved off the position for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more picks. Then we took another 4 receivers, and now we're done. And we're going to draft 3 running backs and a tight end, probably Jelani Woods on this team. And I'm going to get a little crazy with some of these running back picks. We're going to take some shots here. I think when you hit this stage of the draft, if you're in the position like I am, where you have only 3 and like you're just praying for upside with these handcuffs, you can really reach on them if you want to. Running back has been going off at a high clip in this draft, so I'm going to be taking some swings. And it may be like a big-ass reach for some of these players. But maybe to counteract that, I grab like a good tight end in this next round. And then we just finish it off with 3 running backs to close. But I do really trust Conklin Sanat scares me if I don't have Daniels. I think he's not a good pick. And even if you do have Daniels, I think he's going too high. Otten, I think, has a lot of competition and is not like a huge touchdown producer. So I think it's fair for him to go over Conklin, but I think Conklin has a safer floor. And if Rodgers stays healthy, I think Conklin will score maybe 5+ touchdowns this year. So I like Conklin. We already have Evan Ingram. And I would feel comfortable with those two. I think already having A.D. Mitchell and Pittman, I don't need to take the Jelani Woods stack. I don't think that's critical. So I'm likely drafting Tyler Conklin if available. But understandably, Juwan Johnson has plummeted down to pick 193. He was going before Conklin and Otten just a week ago, in line for foot surgery. So that's a guy you don't want to be drafting right now. We could take a shot on J.K. Dobbins. Who knows? Maybe that works out. I might do it. But there's not too many tight ends drafted on these teams. Like the team after us has 0. So I'm going to go with the safer approach. I'm just going to grab Conklin right now. And now we are strictly running back the rest of the way. If Dobbins is there, we'll take Dobbins. Because if Dobbins somehow puts up a healthy season, according to reports, he feels fully healthy. I don't know how much I buy into that, but his contract speaks for itself. It's really hard to feel actually confident in J.K. Dobbins. Fully guaranteed money, $50K. Full salary, if realized, would be $1.6 million, but only $50,000 is fully guaranteed. That is so little. That is almost nothing. If you told me I could make $50K in 4 months working only 1 day a week for 3 hours, I'd happily take it. But for an NFL running back, that is minuscule. And he goes. Okay, thank God. I'm not going to have to take him. I didn't want to, but probably would have done it. I think Tracy's a little bit tempting. Roshan in a committee for sure, but is the RB2 there. Dameon Pierce, I'm not confident with. You would need an injury to Mixon for him to work out, and I'm not expecting that. He was pretty bad last year, so we'll probably go Tyrone Tracy. Yeah, that's who I'll take. Singletary knows the system well, but isn't like the most impressive player in the world. Tyrone Tracy has some potential. I think Estime is also very interesting. Some reports indicate that Estime may be in line to see 40% of the snaps next season. A beat reporter for Denver has made a guess early on that Javonte is going to see about 45. Estime is going to see about 40%. And then Jaleel McLaughlin would be in line for about 15%. So if that holds true, then Estime is a better pick than McLaughlin. He's going very late. And if he's only seeing 5% fewer snaps than Javonte, then by far and away, he's the most valuable Broncos running back of the bunch here. But he's not like fast. He ran a 4.7 40. I worry about him a little bit. But he does profile as more of a goal line back. He's a big dude. Estime. Let's pull him up. Whoa, what? Not Brisley Estime. What the hell is that? Show me. Audric Estime. Oh, I needed the little accent. Drafted in the 5th round. Really slow. 4.71. Not impressive. He's really young also. Only 20 years old. But he weighs 221, 5'11". That is valuable. That is definitely a good metric for a goal line back. And last year he did put up 1,340 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns, caught 17 passes. He can do it, but when you watch his highlight tape, I feel like it's kind of hard to like fully gauge how good is he or how good is the offensive line, because he's running behind Joe Alt at left tackle, and it's like, okay, there's some plays where Joe Alt is just so dominant on these run schemes. Like the hole is massive. Estime doesn't like convince me with some of those highlight reel plays that like it's really him who you should credit all of that production to. But if those reports are correct, then Estime will be a valuable selection if he gets 40% of the snaps this late in the draft. So I'm probably going to grab Estime. I think CEH has a decent path. When he filled in for Pacheco last year in 2 starts, he averaged 13 fantasy points per game. And with no Jerick McKinnon, he should be in line for more targets than 17 catches this year. I think he could put up maybe 30 receptions this season. I think it's possible. But I have a lot of him already. And we're going with like trying to get more of a unique approach. Will Shipley also kind of interesting, but if Saquon Barkley stays healthy, you're not going to get any production there. So we're going to go with Estime in an ambiguous backfield. It definitely has the potential to steal some looks, and it might not be dependent on injury for him to produce. He could just become the RB1 straight up. It is possible, but it's also possible that McLaughlin and Blake Watson, another factor in that backfield, just eat into too many touches that Javonte still doesn't go away, and Estime is not that valuable. But we see Theo Johnson go at pick 200. I told you earlier in the video I'm not trying to draft Theo Johnson or any Giants tight end at the moment, unless we get some like really, really high praise in camp reports that Theo Johnson's just like excelling and it's clear he's way better than Bellinger, then maybe I'll consider it, but I just don't really want to invest in the Giants offense this late unless it's Slayton or Daniel Jones, and that's assuming I can stack him up with Malik Neighbors. But I could go Isaac Guerendo. I've taken him many times on the live stream, spoken highly of him. I do like his potential, assuming Christian McCaffrey does miss some time. That's the only way it works out, though. CEH gets sniped, but I think we're just going to go off the beaten path, and we're going to grab a player that pretty much goes undrafted, and you really got to scroll down to even find him. But Isaiah Spiller is probably the random running back that I'm going to take a chance on. If Dobbins doesn't do shit, if Kimani Vidal is not ready in his rookie season, and if Gus Edwards, let's say, goes down, Spiller in year 3 has some potential. We're really just swinging for the fence, and this team is really relying on these top 3 running backs. But who knows if I'm right about Spiller? I've been drafting him less than 5% of the time. Then I'll be probably the only team that has Isaiah Spiller on it at all. So a true gamble. Wouldn't be shocked if he puts up 5 fantasy points next season. But who knows? Maybe that Chargers backfield offers some league-winning value in round 18 with a guy like Isaiah Spiller. But that's our team. A reminder of how this draft went. We went 4 wide receivers out the gate. We got a good value on Justin Jefferson at pick 7. Then we took Brandon Ayuk, followed by Michael Pittman, who we have both of them stacked up in terms of our quarterbacks later on. And we took Tank Dell at a big value at pick 42, usually going pick 35. He fell 7 spots to us in round 4. Then we took Anthony Richardson, like I mentioned, that Michael Pittman stack. We grabbed Kenneth Walker in round 6. Then we took Evan Ingram because we saw a bit of a run at tight end in this draft. 2 teams doubled up in the first 6 rounds. Then we grabbed Zach Moss, James Conner coming back around. And we really need these 3 running backs to produce for us to really have any chance. I think this team really hinges on the seasons of Walker, Zach Moss, and a few big games from James Conner if he can stay healthy. We'll be happy. But we took Brock Purdy to really bolster our quarterback position. We have another stack with Brandon Ayuk. Then we grabbed 4 straight wide receivers, all 4 of which are rookies with A.D. Mitchell, Ricky Pearsall, Jermaine Burton, and Malachi Corley. And then we grabbed Tyler Conklin, another Jet with Corley. Hey, my cat is here. She wants some attention. Hey. Here. We'll go there. But yeah, and then we finished up with those 3 running backs after Conklin with Tyrone Tracy, Audric Estime, and Isaiah Spiller. 2 rookies and a player who is at the end of his rope if he doesn't do anything this year. Won't do shit in the NFL in Spiller. But that's it for our team. And if you made it to the end here, subscribe to the channel, like the video. And she's kind of upset that she has not gotten her attention. She's probably hungry at this point. I'm going to feed her and watch the NBA Finals. It's probably the last game of the series. But that's it for me. Hope you all enjoyed. Have a good evening. And I'll see you in 2 days for another live stream and another draft. But have a good one.